All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Natty News Daily Weekly, my weekly segment where we try and bring you the news of the week, right? So as you have seen with the last couple episodes, not a ton of like show updates or even athlete updates because most people are either in the thick of the off season or are just kind of starting their prep or in that pre-prep phase. So there's not a lot of highlights and things like that going around, but we have some stories to share for you this week. Two of them athlete updates, maybe announcements a little bit, and then two discussion pieces here. So we see Patrick here. Patrick is a phenomenal athlete, another German here who's just crushed it historically. And it seems like 2024 is going to be another year for him. So that's one definitely to look for. I mean, we could scroll through his photos all day and they're just all phenomenal. Uh, I mean, dude's huge. He is an IFBB pro in classic, I believe. But I mean, yeah, look at this. Like that's lean, right? There's just levels that these German guys are bringing are indescribable. Not only the glutes there, but look at the separation between the quad and the hamstring there. That like pulled apart look that Jack Dorburn's actually really well known for, and it's just stuff is literally you talk about separation, but like the skin is separating itself, not just the muscles when you get that lean, but has the density to match it up. And it's just built like a freight train. So I'll be interested to see where he competes, what division he competes with, what federation. Yeah, he's certainly one to watch and an interesting athlete to follow for sure. Following up on that. Now, I don't have a post to show you guys because it was on his story. However, if you've been watching Kendall's story, you'll know over the last year, a lot of hullabaloo about him as an athlete, right? Prior WMBF world champ, went on, won his IFBB pro card at the Amateur Arnold. Incredibly hard to do, right? And then competed as a pro, placed as a pro, yada, yada, yada. Dude's phenomenal shape, insane muscle bellies, full, really classic look to him. And what he has shared is that he has received an invite to the Arnold Classic Pro. So if you're unaware, Arnold Classic is invite only. He has replaced Rough Diesel as one of the athletes. Probably some other athletes turned down some invitations, right? Just not competing or not competing just yet, saving themselves for the O. But for a natural athlete to get invited to the Arnold Pro stage is huge. This will definitely be his biggest challenge to date. And if placing well here could just catapult his career and obviously set a great precedent for what the season's going to bring for him. So, and you can actually see in the comment here, are you considering doing the Ben Wider Natural, which is the IFBB Pro Natural Show? Winner of that qualifies immediately for the Olympia. So there's some roads there where we could see Kendall on the Olympia stage in classic physique, which would be incredible, honestly. You know, as a fan of the sport itself and as a fan of just athletes in general and not, federation versus federation, I would love to see it. Um, you can make the argument, oh, he'll make it there and he won't compare, blah, blah, blah. But we've already seen him beat pro athletes. So Kendall is one that could do it. So I'll be watching, I'll be supporting. Just I love to see naturals do well. Moving on. We talked about it. We've already covered multiple stories, similar stories. It started with OCB Australia, then it went to OCB Spain. Now the OCB is coming to Great Britain. So I don't need to emphasize it again, but if you haven't watched the episodes before, this was the big criticism. OCB is not international. They don't have the international athletes. They have a strong domestic presence in the US, and that's it. The Yorton doesn't have international athletes. Seemingly, somebody listened, or that was the game plan all along. I won't toot our own horn for pushing people in certain directions. I don't think we have that much influence. Um, but this is huge, right? They are going after the biggest markets. I would say Spain, Australia, UK, and then, US is already established. If you look at like Taiwan, those are the biggest markets for natural bodybuilding right now, hands down. You get a Germany in there as well, maybe a smaller market overall in the number of athletes, but the quality's there. That's where the OCB is establishing themselves. So certainly going to start contending for athletes. We'll see if any regulations come out of this, if there's any infighting between the federations like we've seen in the past, where certain pros aren't allowed to compete elsewhere, vice versa. You hope not to see it, especially with the prior story I talked about with the NPC moving into the natural realms. You would hope that that would kind of be a wake-up call to say, like, hey, these natural federations need to start working together. I would say these moves don't necessarily indicate that. And from conversations that have been had, I don't believe it's ever going to be possible with the current leadership of the natural federations for certain federations to work together. Rightfully so in certain situations because of historical beef and historical issues and differences in integrity and testing and all of, lots of different things. There's a lot. There's honestly way too much and stuff that we're just learning years, decades into this, where older athletes know even more than us, right? So it's a mess out there. That's what I'll say. But the story is the OCB is expanding. They're making a run. They've got the most shows in the US by far, which I've critiqued as maybe not being a good thing. But to see them expand internationally, you're giving your federation some real legitimacy for sure. So that's what we'll say with that. And then a final piece. This is different, but I think we can have a little discussion here. So this is on the enhanced side. This looks at what was it, 2009 NPC Nationals, bikini on the left, figure on the right. These are the winners from a magazine, right? Most likely enhanced. We won't make any assumptions, whatever. But look, bikini and figure, even in the enhanced NPC IFBB, I mean, there are naturals that significantly dwarf this. And the commentary here was that, the individual on the left in the bikini wouldn't place in anything, and the figure athlete would probably place, but maybe not even win a bikini show nowadays. And I would say that's even true on the natural side. We're seeing natural athletes show up way more conditioned in both bikini and figure than this, right? So it just talks about what happens with any federation, any division with the sport. There always has to be one more, a little bit leaner, a little bit bigger until what was the criteria is just completely irrelevant now. You see it with the pro cards that have been awarded historically. Eric Helms, 3DMJ, all those guys talk about, back in the early 2000s, if you had shredded glutes, you were going to win a pro card just because it was so unheard of. Now, that's the standard. If you don't come in with like 5% body fat, good luck getting a pro card, especially in like bodybuilding with the WNBF. Other federations, other divisions, there's more, structure to certain areas, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, women's side is a little bit different, but the standard has just been elevated so much as more people enter the sport, where if you look at prior winners, if you look at prior criteria, it's just not relevant anymore. So it's exciting to see as a spectator. It is intimidating as all hell as an athlete, right? Because I know I have yet personally to hit my conditioning. And now each time the bar just gets higher and higher and higher. So for someone entering the sport, man, there's just a high expectation. If you want to be competitive, it's that much harder nowadays than in years past. And that's not to take anything away from the older athletes, the veteran athletes who won their pro cards in the past, because that's just what the norm was and that's what the standard was. So you elevate to the standard and you try and outpace the standard. And then this is just the elevation or the evolution of things as they go. So what do you guys think? Do you like to see it? Do you think it takes away from certain divisions? Are certain divisions getting too big, too lean? Let us know in the comments. Guys, this is going to wrap up our last episode for 2023. So I hope that we have entertained you. I hope that we've educated you. I hope that in some way, shape, or form, we've helped the sport that we love. And if you guys want to help us going into 2024, the likes, the subscribes, the comments, the follows, the shares, all of it helps grow our exposure, which in turn helps grow the sport of natural bodybuilding. So I hope you guys have a happy new year. If you're celebrating it, I don't know why you wouldn't. And I'm signing out of 2023. I will see you guys in the new year.